The containment cylinder hissed as it settled onto the examination platform, frost coating its metallic surface like fine powder. Dr. Rilnith's three-fingered hands moved across the control panel with practiced precision, her scaled skin reflecting the sterile blue light of the Galactic Biological Research Institute's most secure laboratory. Inside the cylinder sat a single vial, no larger than her smallest digit, containing genetic material from a species the galaxy had never encountered before. Another Death World sample, Brell asked from across the room. The Fenrothi scientist's fur rippled with unease, his large eyes fixed on the frozen container. We had 3 incidents last cycle alone. Perhaps we should wait for more documentation. Rilnith pulled up the sparse file on her display screen. Species designation, human. Origin planet, Terra. Catalog number 7-349B. Classification, Death World, Class 4 Environmental Hazards. She scrolled through the limited data. The survey team only managed a single DNA sample before atmospheric conditions forced evacuation. No direct contact was made. Class 4. Court's mechanical voice crackled from the corner workstation. The Drini's cybernetic enhancements glowed softly as he processed information. That places Terra among the top 3% most hostile world surveyed. I calculate an 87% probability this sample contains dangerous genetic sequences, which is precisely why we analyze it here, Rilnith responded, initiating the thawing sequence. Understanding dangerous species before contact prevents future conflicts. Remember the Croth incident. The research team fell silent. Everyone remembered the Croth incident. A failure to properly assess that species' predatory nature had resulted in the loss of an entire diplomatic vessel. 17 years later, relationships with the Croth remained tense. The vial emerged from its frozen sleep, the crystallized genetic material slowly liquefying. Rilnith transferred it to the sequencing chamber with steady hands despite the tremor of anticipation running through her body. 40 years she had studied xenobiology. 40 years of cataloging species from across the galaxy. Yet samples from death worlds always carried an element of the unknown that made her feel like a first-year student again. Initiating primary scan, she announced. The machine hummed to life, invisible beams of light penetrating the sample at a molecular level. Data began streaming across multiple displays, forming patterns and structures that would reveal the fundamental nature of this mysterious species called human. Brell moved closer, his ears twitching as he studied the incoming information. Unusual. The DNA structure shows remarkable complexity. Double helix formation with extensive redundancy patterns. Most higher species have redundancy, Court noted, though his tone carried a hint of curiosity. However, these patterns are notably intricate. Rilnith pulled up comparative files, running the human DNA against the genetic databases of known species. The computer highlighted similarities and differences with rapid precision. Her breath caught as the first analysis completed. "This cannot be correct," she muttered, rechecking the calibration. "The system is identifying predatory markers mixed with endurance-specialized evolution. That combination should not exist in a single species." Death world adaptations often defy conventional evolutionary logic, Brell said, though his fur continued its nervous rippling. What else is the scan revealing? The data painted a picture that grew more concerning with each passing moment. The human genetic code contains sequences associated with apex predators, forward-facing eyes, specialized motor control for precision movement, pattern recognition capabilities far beyond baseline requirements. Yet interwoven with these predatory traits were characteristics typically found in prey species that had evolved extreme endurance as a survival mechanism. "Look at this metabolic efficiency rating," Court said, his cybernetic eye zooming in on specific gene sequences. Humans can apparently process a wide variety of organic materials for sustenance. The digestive system shows adaptations for both plant and animal matter. "Omnivores are common enough," Rilnith replied, though she was already seeing that humans took this trait to unprecedented levels. The genetic markers suggested a species that could extract nutrition from nearly anything organic, a flexibility that would allow survival in diverse and changing environments. Brell's claws clicked against his datapad as he compiled information. Their homeworld classification makes sense now. To survive a Class 4 death world, a species would need exactly this kind of adaptive flexibility. The question is whether this makes them dangerous to other species or simply survivors. The sequencing continued, diving deeper into the human genetic structure. Rilnith noted immune system components that seemed almost aggressive in their design, suggesting constant warfare against pathogens and parasites. She found evidence of regenerative capabilities, cellular repair mechanisms that operated at impressive speeds. Their pain tolerance markers are elevated, she observed, highlighting another section. And these neural pathways suggest advanced problem-solving abilities combined with, she paused, double-checking her reading, combined with reduced fear response inhibitors, a species that feels less fear than baseline. Court's mechanical voice carried a rare note of surprise. That would explain how they survived on such a hostile world. Most species would flee. Humans apparently chose to adapt and fight. The computer continued its work, building a comprehensive profile. With each new discovery, the picture became clearer and more unsettling. Humans possessed the hunting capabilities of predators, the endurance of prey, the adaptability of survivors, and the intelligence of tool users. Natural selection on Terra had forged something unprecedented. A soft alarm began to sound. Rilnith glanced at the security monitor, expecting a minor system notification. Instead, her scales went rigid with shock. The biohazard warning displayed across the screen in harsh red letters, the threat level climbing rapidly. Level 5 alert, Brell said, backing away from the sequencing chamber. What triggered it? The display updated. Level 6. Level 7. The alarm grew louder. I have never seen the system react this way, Court stated, his usual calm replaced by obvious concern. Not even with the Croth samples. Rilnith's hands flew across the controls, trying to identify what had set off the automated safety systems. The genetic analysis continued in the background, indifferent to the chaos it was causing. Level 8 flashed across the screen. Should we abort the sequence? Brell asked, moving toward the emergency shutdown controls. Before Rilnith could answer, the system reached level 9. In 300 years of operation, the Galactic Biological Research Institute had only recorded 2 previous level 9 biohazard alerts. Both had involved extinct species whose danger had been theoretical rather than practical. This was neither extinct nor theoretical. Somewhere on a distant death world, millions, or perhaps billions of these humans lived, completely unaware that their very existence had just triggered the most severe biological threat warning in galactic history. Rilnith stared at the flashing red screen, her mind racing through possibilities. What had the computer found in that genetic code that warranted this level of alarm? The answer, she suspected, would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about predators, survival, and the thin line between the two. Emergency lighting bathed the laboratory in pulsing amber as Rilnith disabled the evacuation alarm. The sound had been deafening, designed to clear entire wings of the research institute within minutes. Now, in the relative quiet, only the hum of machines and the rapid breathing of 3 frightened scientists filled the space. Lockdown protocols are active, Court announced, his cybernetic implants interfacing directly with the facility's security systems. We have approximately 6 hours before the Oversight Committee demands a full explanation. I suggest we determine what triggered this response before they arrive. Rilnith moved back to the main console, her training overriding her instinct to flee. The sequencing had completed despite the chaos, and now the full genetic profile of humanity waited in the system's memory banks. She pulled up the threat assessment report, the document that had caused the automated systems to panic. The words on the screen seemed impossible. She read them twice, then a third time, certain she was misunderstanding something fundamental. Brell, Verify these readings, she said, stepping aside so the Fenrothi could access the console. Tell me the translation matrix is malfunctioning. Burrell's fur flattened against his body as he studied the data, a sign of extreme stress in his species. Translation is accurate. The genetic markers are clear. Humans are persistence hunters. Many species hunt, Court observed. Why would that trigger a level 9 alert? Not hunt, Burrell corrected, his voice barely above a whisper. Persistence hunt. There is a significant difference. He pulled up a simulation based on the genetic evidence. According to this data, humans evolved to track prey over extended periods. Not hours, days. Their endurance systems allow them to follow wounded or exhausted animals until the target simply collapses from fatigue. Rilnith felt her scales ripple with involuntary fear. Persistence hunting was known in the galaxy, but only among non-sentient species. The idea of an intelligent race employing such tactics suggested a patience and determination that bordered on the terrifying. That is only the beginning, Court said, highlighting another section of the analysis. Examine their visual systems. Humans possess forward-facing eyes with exceptional depth perception and color differentiation. This is standard for predators. However, they also have persistence vision, the ability to track movement over long distances without losing focus. The picture was becoming clearer and more disturbing. Humans were not simply predators. They were specialized hunters who combined the patience of ambush predators with the endurance of pursuit predators. Natural selection had given them tools from multiple evolutionary strategies. Burrell opened another file, his hands shaking slightly. Their skeletal structure supports bipedal locomotion with remarkable efficiency. The design minimizes energy expenditure during extended movement. And these muscle fiber compositions, they can sustain activity for periods that would kill most species from exhaustion. How is that possible? Rilnith asked. Sustained high performance requires enormous caloric intake. The energy requirements would be prohibitive. Which explains this, Court said, displaying the human digestive system analysis. Omnivorous capability extending to an extreme degree. The genetic markers suggest humans can process nearly any organic material. Plant matter, animal tissue, fungi, even foods that would be toxic to most species. Their bodies apparently evolved to extract nutrition from whatever was available. Rilnith studied the data with growing unease. A species that could eat almost anything would never face food scarcity. They could survive in environments where specialized feeders would starve. Combined with their hunting capabilities, it meant humans could potentially thrive anywhere. The immune system is equally concerning, Burrell added. These genetic sequences indicate constant evolutionary pressure from diseases and parasites. Human immune responses are aggressive, adaptable, and carry memory functions that allow rapid response to previously encountered threats. They evolved fighting everything, Rilnith said, understanding dawning. Not just predators or prey. Everything. Their entire planet was trying to kill them, and they survived by becoming unkillable. Court pulled up a new analysis, one that made even his cybernetic enhancements seem to dim with concern. Their neural chemistry includes natural stimulant production. During crisis situations, humans can trigger releases of adrenaline and other compounds that temporarily enhance strength, speed, and pain tolerance. They can essentially overclock their own bodies. At what cost? Rilnith asked. Surprisingly minimal, Court replied. The recovery systems are robust. Humans appear designed to endure repeated stress events with relatively quick recuperation. And observe these cellular repair rates. Their healing factor operates significantly faster than galactic baseline. Injuries that would permanently disable most species are, for humans, temporary inconveniences. Burrell opened yet another file, this one containing behavioral predictions based on genetic evidence. The pack bonding markers are extensive. Humans are social creatures who form tight family groups. But unlike most pack species, their bonding extends beyond genetic relatives. The neural pathways suggest they can form attachments to completely unrelated individuals and even to other species. That is common in domesticated animals, Rilnith noted. Humans are not domesticated, Brell said firmly. They are the domesticators. These genetic markers indicate they have the capacity to bond with and train other species. The survey team noted several non-human animals on Terra living in close proximity to human settlements. We initially assumed they were livestock, but some appear to be companion animals. Rilnith felt a chill run through her body. They domesticate other species? Even predators? The evidence suggests yes, Court confirmed. Humans apparently form bonds with creatures that should be their competitors or threats. They integrate them into their pack structure through a neurochemical process that rewards cooperation and loyalty. The implications were staggering. A species that could turn potential enemies into allies would be formidable indeed. Combined with their physical capabilities and adaptive nature, humans represented something the galaxy had never encountered. Run the predation index, Rilnith ordered, though part of her dreaded the result. I need a quantifiable assessment. Court's cybernetic fingers danced across the controls, initiating the simulation. The predation index was a standardized measurement used across the galaxy to assess how dangerous a species might be to others. It considered hunting capability, intelligence, aggression, adaptability, and numerous other factors. The scale ran from 0 to 10, with 10 being a theoretical perfect predator. The most dangerous species currently known to the galaxy, the Kroth, rated at 7.3. They were apex predators on their world, intelligent, aggressive, and difficult to negotiate with. 3 separate military conflicts had been required to establish peaceful relations. The computer processed the human genetic data, running simulations based on evolutionary evidence. Rilnith watched the numbers climb. 5, 6, 7. The simulation continued 0.8.2, 8.9, 9.3. The system slowed, double-checking its calculations. Then the final number appeared 0.9.7. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The implications were too enormous to process immediately. Humans were not just dangerous. They were exponentially more dangerous than anything the galaxy had previously encountered. This must be an error, Brell finally said. No species can score that high. The simulation must be flawed. Kerr was already running diagnostic checks. All systems functioning within normal parameters. I have verified the calculations 3 times. The result is consistent. Rilnith stared at the number, her mind struggling to accept what it meant. Somewhere out there, on a distant death world, an entire civilization of extreme super predators existed. They had developed technology, society, culture, all while carrying genetic coding that made them the most dangerous species evolution had ever produced. We need to inform the Galactic Council, she said quietly. Immediately. The council chamber of the Galactic Security Committee occupied the top levels of Unity Station, a massive structure that served as the political heart of known space. Rilnith had never been summoned here before. Few scientists ever were. The committee dealt with military threats, piracy, territorial disputes, matters of violence and power. Research was typically confined to academic conferences and peer-reviewed journals. Yet here she stood, flanked by Brell and Court, facing a semicircle of representatives from 17 different species. Each held positions of authority in their respective governments. Each possessed the power to mobilize fleets, impose quarantines, or declare war. And each was staring at Rilnith with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright alarm. Dr. Rilnith, the committee chair began, her voice carrying the resonant tones of the Kalori species. Your research facility triggered a Level 9 biohazard alert 3 days ago. Such events require immediate investigation by this committee. You have been granted clearance to present your findings. Rilnith activated the holographic display, and the human genetic profile materialized above the chamber floor. The sheer complexity of the DNA structure drew murmurs from the assembled representatives. Honored members, we have analyzed genetic material from a previously unknown species originating from a Class 4 death world designated Terra. The species calls themselves humans. She paused, gathering her courage. Our analysis indicates they are the most dangerous predatory species ever recorded in galactic history. The murmurs grew louder. A representative from one of the prey-evolved species stood abruptly, his ears flat against his skull. More dangerous than the Croth? That seems improbable. The Croth rate at 7.3 on the predation index, Rilnith replied, displaying the comparative data. Humans rate at 9.7. Silence fell across the chamber like a physical weight. Even the most composed representatives showed signs of distress. Shifting postures, altered breathing patterns, involuntary defensive gestures. Explain this rating, the committee chair demanded. What makes this species so dangerous? Burrell stepped forward, his scientific training helping him maintain composure despite his obvious fear. Humans are persistence hunters who evolved under extreme environmental pressure. Their homeworld subjected them to constant threats from predators, diseases, environmental hazards, and resource scarcity. They survive by becoming adaptable to an unprecedented degree. The holographic display shifted, showing comparative anatomy. Their physical structure combines advantages from multiple evolutionary paths. Forward-facing eyes provide exceptional depth perception and movement tracking. Bipedal locomotion offers endurance that exceeds most known species. Their bodies can sustain activity for days without rest. A military representative from the Drini Confederation leaned forward, his cybernetic enhancements glowing. Endurance alone does not explain a 9.7 rating. What else? Court's mechanical voice filled the chamber. Humans possess what we have termed emergency override capability. During crisis situations, their bodies release chemical compounds that temporarily enhance strength, speed, reaction time, and pain tolerance. They can, essentially, exceed their normal physical limitations when threatened. Such capabilities typically cause severe physiological damage, another representative observed. In most species, yes, Court agreed. Human recovery systems are remarkably robust. They heal rapidly from injuries that would permanently disable others. Their cellular repair mechanisms operate at rates significantly above galactic baseline, and their immune systems demonstrate aggressive, adaptable responses to threats, carrying memory functions that provide lasting protection. Rilnith resumed her presentation, highlighting another section of the genetic analysis. Humans are extreme omnivores. They can process nearly any organic material for sustenance, including foods toxic to most species. This dietary flexibility means they can survive in virtually any environment with organic life. The implications were not lost on the committee. A species that could eat anything and live anywhere would be nearly impossible to contain or control through conventional means. Their intelligence? The committee chair asked. Comparable to galactic standard, Rilnith confirmed. However, their problem-solving approaches show unique characteristics. Humans evolved using tools, and their brains are optimized for pattern recognition, spatial reasoning, and predictive modeling. They're natural engineers and strategists. She pulled up another section of data, one that had particularly fascinated and disturbed her. Humans also demonstrate exceptional throwing accuracy. Their shoulder joints, visual tracking, and neural timing allow them to strike targets at distance with remarkable precision. This suggests they hunted using projectile weapons long before developing technology. A prey species representative spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. You paint a picture of perfect predators. Surely there must be some limitation, some weakness we could exploit if necessary. That is the truly concerning aspect, Brell said softly. We have found no significant weaknesses. Humans are not specialized for a single environment or strategy. They're generalists in the most extreme sense. They can adapt to almost any situation, survive almost any hardship, and overcome almost any obstacle through either physical capability or intelligent problem solving. What about their social structure? Someone asked. Predators are typically solitary. Rilnith shook her head. Humans are pack animals with complex social hierarchies. They form tight family units and extended community bonds. But unlike most pack species, human bonding extends beyond genetic relatives. They can form attachments to unrelated individuals and even to other species entirely. She displayed evidence from the survey team's observations. Humans domesticate other animals, including predatory species. They integrate these creatures into their pack structure through neurochemical bonding processes. This suggests an ability to turn potential threats into allies. The committee chair's expression grew grave. You are describing a species that hunts cooperatively, adapts to any environment, can survive almost any injury, and possesses the intelligence to develop advanced technology. This is a nightmare scenario for galactic security. There is one more factor, Cord added, his cybernetic eye glowing as he pulled up the final section of analysis. Humans evolved on a world where everything was attempting to kill them. Predators, diseases, weather, geological events. They did not respond by becoming fearful or cautious. The genetic markers indicate reduced fear inhibition compared to baseline species. Humans evolved to confront threats rather than avoid them. The implications hung in the air. A species that felt less fear, combined with all their other capabilities, would be formidable indeed. Most intelligent species had survived by learning when to flee. Humans had apparently survived by learning when to fight, and the answer seemed to be almost always that a representative from the Fenrothi collective spoke, his ears twitching with agitation. These humans have already developed space travel. The survey team detected artificial satellites and evidence of early stellar exploration, Rilnith confirmed. They are on the cusp of achieving interstellar capability. Based on their technological progression rate, we estimate they could reach Council space within 50 to 100 years. Then we have time to prepare, the military representative said. We should establish a quarantine zone around their system. Monitor their development. If they prove hostile, we can contain them before they become a galactic threat. And if they're not hostile, the committee chair asked. With respect, the military representative replied, a species this dangerous cannot be given the benefit of doubt. The risk is too great. The debate continued, representatives arguing for various approaches, quarantine, surveillance, even preemptive military assessment. Rilnith listened to the discussion with growing unease. All the proposals treated humans as threats to be managed rather than potential allies to be welcomed. Finally, a voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. Plevin, a diplomatic representative known for his moderate positions, stepped forward. We are discussing military responses to a species we have never actually met. We are making assumptions based on genetic data alone. Perhaps we should consider diplomatic contact before we finalize containment protocols. Contact. The prey species representative sounded horrified. With predators rating 9.7 on the threat index, that would be suicide, or it would be survival, Plevin countered. If humans are as dangerous as this analysis suggests, making them our enemies could be catastrophic. Making them our friends might be the wisest course of action the galaxy has ever taken. The committee chair called for a vote on how to proceed. The chamber filled with electronic signals as representatives cast their decisions. The count appeared on the main display, split almost evenly between establishing a quarantine zone and attempting diplomatic contact. Before the chair could call for a tiebreaker, an aide rushed into the chamber, her movements urgent and alarmed. She approached the chair and whispered something that made the Quilori's skin change color, a sign of extreme shock in her species. The committee chair stood, her voice cutting through the chamber. The vote is now irrelevant. I have just received word that a human vessel has entered Council-controlled space. They are broadcasting a message requesting peaceful contact and permission to approach Unity Station. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions, demanded information, called for military deployment. Rilnith stood frozen, her mind struggling to process the news. Humans were here. Now, and everything was about to change. Rilnith watched through the observation window as the human vessel approached Unity Station. The ship was smaller than she had expected, perhaps a quarter the size of standard galactic transport. Its design was functional rather than elegant, with visible thruster assemblies and communication arrays that suggested early-stage engineering rather than refined technology. Yet it moved with confidence through the heavily defended space around the station, seemingly unaware or unconcerned about the dozen military ships shadowing its every movement. Sensor analysis confirms minimal weaponry. Court reported from a station on the diplomatic vessel. The human ship carries what appear to be defensive systems only. No obvious offensive capabilities beyond basic projectile launchers. Perhaps they are scouts, Brell suggested, his voice still rippled with anxiety despite the hours that had passed since the humans' arrival. Testing our responses before sending their military vessels. The committee had decided, after heated debate, to proceed with cautious contact. A diplomatic vessel had been prepared with full security protocols and a military escort that could disable the human ship in seconds if necessary. Rilnith and her research team had been included as advisors, their expertise on human biology deemed essential for the first contact scenario. Communication channel is active, the diplomatic officer announced. The Quilori's skin shifted through calming colors as she worked to maintain professional composure. The humans are responding to our mathematical greeting sequences. They appear to understand the protocol. Of course they do, Rilnith muttered. They are highly intelligent. We should not mistake caution for stupidity. The main display flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a human face. Rilnith's breath caught despite her preparation. Seeing genetic data was one thing. Seeing the actual creature was entirely different. The human male appeared young by the biological markers visible in his features. His forward-facing eyes were a striking blue color, scanning across the screen with obvious curiosity rather than aggression. His skin was a light brown shade, and dark hair covered his head in a style that seemed deliberately maintained. When he smiled, his teeth showed, a gesture that in most species indicated threat, but the overall expression suggested friendliness. "Greetings from Earth," the human said, his language translating smoothly through the communication system. "My name is Owen Garcia. I am representing the United Earth Space Initiative. We are honored to make contact with your civilization." The diplomatic officer hesitated, clearly uncertain how to proceed. Rilnith had read the briefing documents. The council had expected humans to be aggressive, demanding, perhaps territorial. Instead, this Owen Garcia seemed genuinely pleased to meet them. "Greetings, Owen Garcia of Earth," the diplomatic officer finally replied. "I am Councilor Mareth of the Galactic Council. We welcome your peaceful approach to Unity Station. However, we must inform you that you are accompanied by a security escort. This is standard protocol for first contact situations." Owen glanced at something off-screen, presumably a display showing the military ships surrounding his vessel. "Understood. We appreciate your caution. First contact situations can be unpredictable. We are prepared to follow any protocols you deem necessary." Brell leaned toward Rilnith, keeping his voice low. He does not seem concerned by the military presence. Either he is exceptionally confident or genuinely peaceful. "Or both," Rilnith replied, studying the human's body language. Everything she knew about predatory species suggested Owen should be showing some sign of threat assessment. Tension, defensive posturing, aggressive signaling. Instead, he looked relaxed and curious. The diplomatic exchange continued, establishing basic parameters of communication. Owen explained that his ship, designated the Wanderer, had been exploring nearby systems when they detected Council transmissions. Following Earth's first contact protocols, he had approached openly rather than attempting stealth. "If I may ask," Councilor Mareth said carefully, "what is Earth's purpose in space exploration?" "Scientific discovery primarily," Owen responded. "We want to understand the universe and our place in it. And of course, we hope to find other intelligent life. Earth has been searching for that for generations. Finding you, finding all of you, is literally a dream come true for our species." Rilnith exchanged glances with Court. The human's enthusiasm seemed genuine, but how could a species rated 9.7 on the predation index be this non-threatening? "Owen Garcia," Councilor Mareth continued, "we have some questions about Earth's environment. Our preliminary surveys indicated your homeworld has significant environmental hazards. How has your species adapted to these conditions? Owen laughed, a sound that made several members of the diplomatic team flinch involuntarily. Earth can be challenging, yes. We have extreme weather, tectonic activity, diverse predator species, and quite a few things that want to kill us. But humans are adaptable. We learn to work together, build communities, develop technology. Cooperation has always been our greatest strength. Cooperation, Rilnith said, speaking before she could stop herself. Your species evolved through cooperation despite living on a death world. Owen's attention shifted to her, those predatory eyes focusing with an intensity that sent an instinctive chill down her spine. But his expression remained friendly. I am sorry, I did not catch your name. Dr. Rilnith. I am a xenobiologist studying Earth species. Fascinating, Owen said, and he genuinely sounded interested. Yes, cooperation has been essential to human survival. Individually, we are not that impressive. We are not the strongest or fastest. But together, humans can accomplish remarkable things. We have a saying, alone we are weak, but together we are strong. Brell's ears twitched. Your species acknowledges individual weakness? Of course, Owen replied. Why would we pretend otherwise? Evolution did not make us perfect. It made us social. Our strength comes from working together, sharing knowledge, supporting each other through difficult times. That is how humans survived Earth, and it is how we hope to thrive among the stars. The conversation continued, but Rilnith's mind was racing. The genetic data had shown pack bonding capabilities, but she had not expected this level of cooperative philosophy. Most predatory species, she knew, were competitive even within their own groups. Humans apparently took the opposite approach. Owen Garcia, Counselor Mareth, said, would you be willing to come aboard our diplomatic vessel for a cultural exchange? We would like to learn more about humanity, and we can share information about the Galactic Council. The military representatives tensed visibly. Allowing a human onto their ship was a significant risk, according to all threat assessments. But Counselor Mareth had authority in first contact situations, and she was clearly curious enough to override caution. Owen's face brightened. I would be honored. Should I come alone, or would you like me to bring anyone else? You may bring whoever you feel appropriate, Counselor Mareth replied. Then I will bring my companion, Owen said. Give me a few minutes to prepare for transfer. The communication channel closed. The diplomatic vessel's crew immediately began debating the wisdom of allowing a human aboard. Rilnith barely heard them. She was too focused on what Owen had said. Companion. Humans had companions. The genetic data had suggested pack bonding extended to other species, but having confirmation was different than reading about it. What kind of companion do you think he means? Brell asked nervously. Only one way to find out, Court replied, his cybernetic systems already scanning the human ship for additional life signs. 20 minutes later, the airlock cycled open. Owen Garcia stepped through, wearing a simple blue uniform that appeared more ceremonial than functional. He was taller than Rilnith had estimated, his bipedal frame moving with easy grace. Those predatory eyes swept across the room, taking in everything with rapid assessment, and beside him walked a creature that made Brell take an involuntary step backward. It was quadrupedal, covered in short brown fur, with forward-facing eyes and teeth visible when it panted. A predator. The human had brought a predator as his companion. This is Bailey, Owen said, placing a hand on the creature's head with obvious affection. She is a dog, one of Earth's domesticated species. I hope you do not mind that I brought her. She gets anxious when I am away too long. The dog, Bailey, looked up at Owen with clear adoration in her eyes, then turned to regard the assembled aliens with curiosity rather than aggression. Her tail began wagging, a rhythmic movement that suggested happiness. Rilnith stared at the scene before her. The genetic superpredator was petting another predator, treating it like a family member. The neurochemical bonding she had read about in the data was clearly visible in the interaction between human and dog. Welcome aboard, Owen Garcia, Counselor Mareth said, her colors shifting to indicate genuine welcome despite her obvious nervousness. "We have much to discuss." Owen smiled again, that expression of warmth that seemed so at odds with everything the genetic analysis had predicted. "Thank you, Counselor. I am eager to learn about the galactic community and how Earth might fit into it. This is an incredible moment for my species." As the diplomatic party began moving toward the conference room, Rilmith fell in a step beside Owen. She had to understand this contradiction. The most dangerous predator ever analyzed, acting like the most peaceful species she had ever met. "Owen," she said carefully, "may I ask you something about human nature?" "Of course," he replied, still petting Bailey as they walked. "Your species evolved on a death world, facing constant threats. How did you develop such a cooperative and peaceful approach to other species?" Owen considered the question seriously. "Earth taught us that survival requires working together. Competition might help individuals win, but cooperation helps everyone survive. We figured out pretty early that making friends was smarter than making enemies. Besides, the universe is vast and full of wonders. Why would we want to fight when there is so much to explore and learn?" It was such a simple answer, yet it carried profound implications. Humans were super predators who had chosen cooperation over competition, friendship over conquest, exploration over domination. Rilmith realized that perhaps the galaxy had been asking the wrong question. The issue was not how dangerous humans were, but rather what they chose to do with that danger. And if their choice was friendship, then maybe having humans as allies was not just safe, maybe it was essential. The conference room aboard the diplomatic vessel had been designed to accommodate multiple species simultaneously, with adjustable seating, varied atmospheric controls, and environmental settings that could shift to match biological needs. Yet despite all this careful engineering, the space felt oddly intimate as Owen settled into a chair designed for beings roughly his size. Bailey lay at his feet, apparently content despite being surrounded by alien species. Rilmith sat across from the human, her scientific curiosity warring with deeply ingrained survival instincts. Every time Owen made a sudden movement, her body wanted to flee. Yet the human seemed completely unaware of the effect his presence had on the others in the room. "This is remarkable," Owen said, accepting a container of water that Counselor Mareth had provided. He examined it with obvious interest before drinking. "Our scientists theorized about alien civilizations for centuries, but actually being here, meeting you all, it exceeds every expectation." "You are not concerned about potential danger?" Brell asked, unable to contain his curiosity. "You approached our space without knowing if we were hostile or peaceful." Owen smiled, though Rilmith noted he kept his teeth covered this time. Had he learned that showing teeth made them nervous? "Of course I consider the risks. But fear without reason is just paranoia. You sent mathematical greetings and diplomatic protocols that suggested intelligence and willingness to communicate. Taking a chance on friendship seemed worth the risk. Taking chances is common for humans." Cord asked, his cybernetic eye recording every detail of the interaction. "Calculated risks, yes," Owen replied. "Humans have always been explorers. We crossed oceans in wooden boats, climbed mountains that could kill us, launched ourselves into space in metal tubes. Risk is part of discovery, but we try to be smart about it." Counselor Mareth leaned forward, her skin colors shifting to indicate serious interest. "Owen, we have conducted preliminary analysis of human biology. Would you be willing to answer some questions about your species' evolutionary history?" "Absolutely," Owen said. "What would you like to know?" Rilmith spoke before the counselor could continue. "Earth is classified as a Class 4 death world. How did humans survive such extreme conditions?" Owen's expression became thoughtful. "Honestly, we did not have much choice. Earth has dangerous weather, aggressive predators, diseases, poisonous plants, and dozens of other hazards. Early humans could not outrun most threats or overpower them individually. So we learned to work together. We developed language, tools, strategies. We shared knowledge across generations. Individual humans might be vulnerable, but communities of humans could tackle almost any problem." "You mentioned predators," Brell said nervously, glancing at Bailey. How do humans respond to being hunted? We became better hunters, Owen replied simply. Not through physical strength. Many Earth predators are stronger than us, but through intelligence and persistence. Humans can track prey over long distances, plan ambushes, work together to separate targets from herds. We developed throwing weapons that let us hunt from a distance. Eventually, we became the apex predators on Earth. Rilnith found herself fascinated despite her fear. Yet you also domesticated other predators. How did that occur? Owen reached down to pet Bailey, who responded with obvious pleasure. Dogs evolved from wolves, which are pack hunters like humans. Thousands of years ago, some wolves started living near human settlements. Maybe they were scavenging our food scraps. Over time, a partnership developed. The wolves helped us hunt and protected our communities. We provided food and shelter. Eventually, they became dogs, companions who were part of our families. You consider them family? Cord asked. Not tools or servants. Definitely family, Owen confirmed. Bailey is not my property. She is my friend. Humans bond with dogs on a neurochemical level. They make us happy, reduce our stress, give us companionship. In return, we care for them, protect them, love them. It is a mutual relationship built on trust and affection. Counselor Mareth exchanged glances with the other council members present. This bonding capacity extends beyond your own species. Of course, Owen said. Humans also keep cats, birds, reptiles, fish, and many other species as companions. We bond with anything that shows personality and responds to affection. Some humans even form attachments to plants. He laughed. We are social creatures. We want connection, and we find it wherever we can. Brell's ears twitched rapidly, a sign of confusion in his species. But your genetic analysis shows you are apex predators. How can predators be so focused on companionship? Owen considered this. Being a predator does not mean being cruel or isolated. Wolf packs work together, care for their young, mourn their dead. Predatory behavior is about survival, not about being antisocial. Humans learned that cooperation makes us stronger. Why would we limit that cooperation to only our own species? The implications hung in the air. Humans were not just pack bonding within their species. They actively sought connections across species boundaries. Combined with their intelligence and adaptability, it meant they could potentially integrate into galactic society in ways other species could not. Tell us about Earth culture, Counselor Mareth said. What do humans value? Owen's face brightened. That is a complicated question because Earth has thousands of cultures. But there are some common values most humans share. We value family, friendship, knowledge, creativity, freedom. We make art and music and stories. We explore and question and dream. We try to leave things better for the next generation. He pulled a small device from his pocket, a communication tablet, and displayed images. This is my family, my parents, my sister, her children. This is my home city. These are some of my favorite places on Earth. Mountains, oceans, forests. And this, he showed another image, is Earth from space. Every human who sees this image feels something profound. That small blue sphere is our home. Everything we are, everyone we love, all our history exists on that fragile world. It reminds us how precious life is. Rilnith studied the images. The human family showed obvious affection in their physical proximity and expressions. The Earth landscapes were beautiful, but clearly dangerous. She could see storm systems, volcanic formations, and deep oceans that would kill most galactic species. Yet Owen spoke of these places with love rather than fear. You seem to have great affection for your home world despite its dangers, she observed. Of course, Owen replied. Earth made us who we are. Yes, it is challenging. Yes, it has killed countless humans throughout our history. But it also gave us beauty, diversity, wonder. The same oceans that create destructive storms also support incredible ecosystems. The same mountains that are difficult to climb offer amazing views. Danger and beauty coexist on Earth. We learn to appreciate both. Court leaned back in his chair, processing this information. Your species views hardship as something positive? Not exactly, Owen said. We do not seek out suffering, but we recognize that challenges help us grow. Every difficulty humans have faced, predators, diseases, environmental disasters, forced us to become smarter, more adaptable, more cooperative. Without those challenges, we might never have developed the qualities that make us human. And what qualities are those? Counselor Mareth asked. Owen thought for a moment. Resilience, curiosity, compassion, the ability to hope even when things seem hopeless. Humans have been through terrible times, wars, plagues, famines, disasters. But we keep trying to build something better. We dream of futures where everyone has enough, where knowledge is shared, where different peoples can live together peacefully. We do not always achieve those dreams, but we keep trying. Rilnith felt something shift in her perception. The genetic data had shown her a super predator, but Owen was describing something far more complex. A species that had turned adversity into philosophy, survival into aspiration. Were humanity's goals in space? Brell asked. Exploration primarily, Owen answered. We want to learn about the universe, discover new worlds, meet other species. We hope to find friends among the stars, share knowledge, maybe help each other face challenges. The universe is vast and mysterious. Facing it alone would be lonely. Facing it together sounds much better. You seek allies, not territory. Court Presht. We seek understanding, Owen clarified. If that leads to friendship and alliance, wonderful. If it leads to trade and cultural exchange, also wonderful. Humans have learned that cooperation benefits everyone. Competition might have short-term winners, but cooperation creates long-term prosperity for all involved. Counselor Mareth stood, her colors shifting through a pattern that indicated decision-making. Owen Garcia, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I would like to extend an invitation. Would you be willing to visit Unity Station and meet more representatives from our member species? We have much to learn from each other, and this seems like an excellent opportunity to begin formal diplomatic relations. Owen stood as well, extending his hand in what Rilnith recognized from her research as a human greeting gesture. Counselor Mareth hesitated, then reached out to touch the human's hand. Nothing terrible happened. The human simply smiled and nodded. I would be honored, Owen said. This is why I came to space, to meet people like you, to learn, to build bridges between our worlds. Thank you for taking a chance on humanity. As they prepare to transfer to Unity Station, Rilnith found herself walking beside Owen again. Bailey padded between them, tail wagging contentedly. Dr. Rilnith, Owen said, can I ask you something? Of course. When you look at me, do you see a threat or a potential friend? Rilnith considered lying, then decided honesty was more appropriate. Both, if I'm being truthful. Your biology suggests you are extraordinarily dangerous, but your behavior suggests you are kind and peaceful. It is a contradiction I am still trying to understand. Owen nodded thoughtfully. Maybe it is not a contradiction. Maybe being dangerous and being kind are not opposites. Humans have the capacity for violence when necessary. We evolved that way. But we also have the capacity for compassion, creativity, love. We choose which capacity to emphasize. And most humans, most of the time, choose kindness. Why? Rilnith asked. If you have the power to take what you want, why choose cooperation instead? Owen smiled. Because kindness makes better stories. And humans love stories. It was such a simple answer that Rilnith almost laughed. But as she thought about it, she realized it contained a profound truth. Humans were indeed super predators, but they were also storytellers, dreamers, and friends. Perhaps that combination was exactly what the galaxy needed. Unity Station buzzed with activity as news of the human arrival spread through the diplomatic channels. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered in observation areas, hoping to catch a glimpse of the species that had triggered a Level 9 biohazard alert. Security personnel maintained elevated readiness protocols. Medical teams stood by in case of biological incompatibility. Everyone expected something dramatic. What they got was Owen Garcia walking through the corridors with a dog, stopping to admire artwork and asking polite questions about station architecture. Rilnith accompanied him on the tour, partly as scientific observer and partly because she had become unexpectedly protective of the human. Several times, security teams had moved to intercept Owen, interpreting his casual exploration as potential threat assessment. Each time, Rilnith had to explain that humans were naturally curious and that Owen's behavior indicated interest, not aggression. "This mosaic is incredible," Owen said, studying a wall decoration that depicted the founding of the Galactic Council. "The detail work must have taken years. Who created it?" "A collective of Threnari artists," Rilnith explained. "They spend their entire lives on single projects, passing techniques through generations." Owen's expression showed genuine appreciation. "We have similar traditions on Earth. Generational projects that connect past, present, and future. It is beautiful to see that other species value this kind of continuity." They continued walking, Bailey trotting happily beside them. Other species gave them a wide berth, though Rilnith noticed the stairs were becoming less fearful and more curious. A group of younger aliens actually approached to ask about Bailey, and Owen spent several minutes explaining dog behavior and domestication while letting them pet his companion under careful supervision. "You are very patient with all the questions," Rilnith observed after the group had left. "Why would I not be?" Owen replied. "Everyone is curious. That is natural and healthy. Besides, I have plenty of questions myself. Every species I meet raises new things to learn about. It is exciting." They reached the main council chamber, where Owen was scheduled to give a formal presentation about Earth and humanity. The room was filled to capacity, with representatives standing in the back when seating ran out. The atmosphere was tense despite Owen's friendly demeanor during the tour. Counselor Mareth called the session to order. "We are gathered to hear from Owen Garcia, representative of Earth and the human species. Owen, please share what you feel is important for the council to understand about your people." Owen stepped to the center of the chamber, seemingly unbothered by the hundreds of eyes focused on him. Bailey settled near his feet, providing quiet support. "Thank you, Counselor Mareth, and thank you all for welcoming me to Unity Station," Owen began. "I know my presence has caused concern. Dr. Rilnith and her team conducted genetic analysis that classified humans as extremely dangerous. I want to address that directly." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. No one had expected the human to immediately acknowledge the threat assessment. "The analysis is accurate," Owen continued. "Humans evolved on a difficult world facing constant challenges. We developed capabilities that helped us survive: endurance, adaptability, intelligence, and yes, predatory traits. We can be dangerous when necessary. Our history includes violence, warfare, and conflict. I will not pretend otherwise." The tension in the room increased. Several representatives shifted nervously. But Owen said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "Our history also includes cooperation, compassion, and an endless capacity for hope. For every war, we have peace treaties. For every conflict, we have reconciliation. For every problem, we have people working together to find solutions. Humans are defined not by what we can do, but by what we choose to do." He activated a holographic display, showing images from Earth. "This is humanity. We are scientists seeking knowledge, artists creating beauty, teachers sharing wisdom, parents raising children, friends supporting each other. We build communities, protect the vulnerable, explore the unknown. We make mistakes, sometimes terrible ones, but we keep trying to be better." The images shifted, showing human achievements, architecture, art, technology, social movements. "We have learned that our greatest strength is not individual power, but collective effort. One human might be smart, but a community of humans sharing ideas can solve problems that seem impossible. This is how we survived Earth. This is how we built civilization. And this is how we hope to participate in galactic society." Rilnith watched the council members' reactions. The images were clearly affecting them. Whatever they had expected from a super predator species, cultural achievement and social cooperation were apparently not high on the list. I have been asked what humanity wants, Owen continued. The answer is simple. We want to learn. We want to share. We want to build relationships with other species. We want to contribute to something larger than ourselves. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders. Facing it together seems much smarter than facing it alone. A prey species representative stood, his voice trembling slightly. How can we trust that humans will remain peaceful? Your capabilities could threaten any species in this chamber. Owen met the representative's eyes directly. You are right to be cautious. But consider this. Humans have been exploring space for decades. We have encountered no other intelligent species until now. If we were conquerors, what would we be conquering? Empty planets? We came to the stars seeking friends, not territory. And now that we have found you, why would we throw away this incredible opportunity by being hostile? Another representative spoke up. Your species has a history of conflict among yourselves. What prevents you from extending that conflict to us? Experience, Owen answered honestly. Human history shows that conflict usually stems from fear, scarcity, or misunderstanding. We have learned that communication prevents fear, cooperation reduces scarcity, and cultural exchange eliminates misunderstanding. We have also learned that friends are more valuable than enemies. This is not naive optimism. This is practical wisdom earned through difficult experience. Court stood, his cybernetic enhancements humming. I have a question about human philosophy. You evolved as predators, yet you advocate for cooperation. How do you reconcile these aspects? Owen smiled. Predation is a survival strategy, not a philosophy. Yes, humans hunt when necessary. Yes, we have competitive instincts. But we also have empathy, creativity, and social bonding. Being a predator does not mean being cruel. Wolf packs cooperate. Lion prides work together. Predatory behavior and social cooperation are not contradictory. They are complementary. Burrell spoke next, his fur finally settling into calmer patterns. What about Bailey? Why bring a domesticated predator to this meeting? Because she is family. Owen said simply, reaching down to pet the dog. Bailey represents something important about humanity. We have the capacity to form bonds across species boundaries. We can take a wolf, an apex predator, and through patience, trust, and mutual benefit, create a friendship that lasts generations. If we can do this with wolves, we can do it with any species willing to try. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled. Humans were not just claiming to be peaceful. They were demonstrating a philosophy backed by thousands of years of interspecies cooperation. Counselor Mareth stood, her colors shifting to indicate formal decision-making. The Galactic Council must now vote on how to proceed with humanity. We have three options: establish a quarantine zone, proceed with cautious monitoring, or welcome humanity as potential member species. Representatives, please cast your votes. Rilnith held her breath as the votes registered. The display showed the tally climbing, numbers shifting as each representative made their choice. Finally, the results appeared. Quarantine, 8 votes. Cautious monitoring, 15 votes. Welcome as potential members, 134 votes. Owen's face showed genuine emotion for the first time since entering the chamber. Relief, joy, and gratitude mixed in his expression. The council has spoken, Counselor Mareth announced. Humanity is welcomed into the galactic community as a candidate member species. Owen Garcia, your people will be invited to send diplomatic missions to Unity Station. We will establish cultural exchange programs, trade negotiations, and knowledge-sharing initiatives. Welcome to the galaxy. Owen bowed, a gesture of respect that seemed universal despite species differences. Thank you. On behalf of all humanity, thank you for taking this chance on us. We will work hard to prove worthy of your trust. As the formal session ended and representatives began approaching Owen with questions and offers of cooperation, Rilnith found herself standing with Court and Brell at the edge of the crowd. We were wrong, Brell said quietly. The genetic analysis predicted danger, but it missed something crucial. What did it miss? Court asked. Choice, Rilnith answered. The analysis showed what humans can do. It did not show what they choose to do. And that choice makes all the difference. She watched as Owen spoke with various representatives, Bailey still by his side, and realized something profound. Humans were indeed the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. Their predatory capabilities, combined with their intelligence and adaptability, made them potentially unstoppable. But they were also the most cooperative species the galaxy had ever encountered. Their pack bonding extended across species boundaries. Their philosophy valued friendship over conquest. Their history proved they could overcome their own violent tendencies through conscious choice. They are super predators, Rilnith said, repeating the phrase that had started this entire journey. But they hunt for friendship, not flesh. They are dangerous because they make allies of everyone they meet, who can fight against a species that turns enemies into friends. Court's cybernetic eye glowed as he processed this conclusion. A species that weaponizes friendship. Perhaps that is the most dangerous capability of all. Or the most valuable, Brell added, his fur finally smooth with calm acceptance. Rilnith approached Owen as the crowd around him thinned. The human smiled when he saw her. Dr. Rilnith, thank you for everything. Your research helped prepare the council for this meeting. I classified you as an extreme threat, Rilnith said. I'm not sure that deserves thanks. You classified us accurately. Owen corrected. We are dangerous. But you also gave the council information they needed to make an informed choice. That is exactly what a good scientist should do. What happens now? She asked. Owen knelt to pet Bailey, then looked up at the diverse species still lingering in the chamber. Now we build bridges. We share stories. We learn from each other. We become friends. And maybe, together, we build something better than any of us could build alone. Rilnith felt something she had not expected. Hope. The galaxy had spent so long fearing the unknown, preparing for threats, building defenses against potential dangers. Perhaps what they had really needed was someone to remind them that cooperation was stronger than competition, that friendship was more valuable than conquest, that together they could face any challenge. And if it took a species of super predators to teach that lesson, so be it. Welcome to the galaxy, Owen Garcia, Rilnith said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Owen took it, his grip gentle despite the strength she knew he possessed. Thank you, Dr. Rilnith. I look forward to everything we will discover together. As they stood there, scientist and explorer, alien and human, new friends in an ancient galaxy, the future seemed suddenly full of possibilities. Humanity had arrived among the stars, not as conquerors, but as companions, and the galaxy would never be the same.